More painful than any insult was the quiet dot in a boutique in the center of Zurich surrounded by golden marble flooring and Viola Hastings, filled in with accents. Sporting a coat made of cream cashmere, silent armor-sized sunglasses, and an appearance that ought to have broken the no one looked up, although the air was open. Not a single salesperson turned their head. In an area where greetings were exchanged white-gloved, like champagne, the promise of service was woven throughout the not a single good afternoon. Brand said hello to her. She passed velvet glass exhibit cases and chairs, her heels producing consistent, gentle noises on like a countdown on a polished stone. Next, she paused. The case's handbag was streamlined, chiseled, and solemn. Gray 38,000 francs, crocodile leather, and imported for customers who were aware of their value. She held up her palm, serene and sure. "May I see this one, please?" The vision of the woman behind the counter of refined grace remained still. Rather, she squinted her eyes as though someone requesting entry to Ash was trained to defend the globe. She remarked, "That one's not for you," and the words were like a smack to the air. "Let me check. Not. I'm sorry. Are you sure?" Wasn't even used. Flat decision made based on presumptions? She didn't request Viola's name. Didn single quotes to card or ask anything. Due to the fact that Viola was already responded to. No, wrapped in brown skin and self-assurance. Worst of all, everyone in the store noticed it. The pair drinking coffee in the corner. The clerk who looked away and peered over his glasses. They did not exclaim. They didn't protest. They were receptive to the performance, such as background noise since it was too recognizable. And the agony is there. Lives, not in the actual insult, but rather in habit of it. In the same that a black woman could enter one of the wealthiest European streets adorned with elegant clothing and stillness while acknowledging that this reality isn't yours. However, nobody was aware of what behind the scenes, not even the manager recognized. The Viola Hastings wasn't a tourist is attempting to win. She wastes parent company's largest shareholder business that was the owner of this brand. A business tycoon, a worldwide symbol offervate equity, a type of female market laces with a distinctive shape. And at this moment, without hesitation, she was being informed, without asking, without feeling guilty, that she wasn't competent enough to handle a purse at all. She may take over the business. She grinned not because it wasn't painful. However, since she was aware of something, they didn't. The most destructive kind of retaliation doesn't originate from yelling. It arrives from allowing the world to observe them undervalue you and then observe them burn once they recognize you. And in 5 minutes, the whole store world. Every phone, every eye, and every headline. But not quite yet. Viola would first allow them to complete their minimal performance due to the curtain was going to tumble. The store was situated on Bahnhofstrasse is among the wealthiest Earth streets, where the shop shone like exhibit cases, and the glass didn't only keep people apart from things. It kept those who belonged apart. By people who didn't. That street was familiar to Viola Hastings. She had walked it in various lifetimes. Initially, as a scholarship recipient, I went with Behin peers who had access to anything they made contact. Later, when I was young executive, she facilitated discussions in which her concepts received accolades until some understood who had said them. Currently, as a mogul, quiet, strategic, and completolincious, that perception continues to dominative. Truth, she didn't require their blessing. She had sold and purchased men using their resumes. However, this offensive presented with gentle lighting and the scent of expensive perfume wasn't only regarding a bag. Almost single room was involved, where her presence had to be earned. Twice, Viola's fingers continued to linger above their glass as soon as she saw the security guard shift. Tall, bald, and dressed in a suit too tight over muscle by 2 sizes. Hadn't glanced at the bag. He was observing her. Viola did not recoil. Shuddered a little and repositioned her glasses. Her tone was strong but cool, like a velvet blade. "I would like to talk to your boss?" The associate blinked. "I apologize, ma'am, but this specific item has been reserved." I didn't inquire if Viola interrupted. It was reserved. The tone remained smooth. I requested your supervisor. After hesitating, the woman gestured toward a tiny door close to the rear. One Viola waited for a time, taking in the remainder of the store. The customers weren't all white, not totally. There was an older couple from the Middle East examining timepieces. Probably a young woman, a tech worker wearing pearls and joggers perusing the scarves. However, Viola stood out due to her lack of brand awareness for their presumptions. Her Grace didn't have any noisy or branded packaging statements. There was no designer on her coat name in plain sight. She was silent assertion. Additionally, that quiet was risky since, in the realm of luxury, a woman like Viola's silence could signify two different things. She either couldn't had it all or could afford it. The manager came out tall and with silver hair, with lifeless eyes and a polished smile. How may I assist you? Viola waved gently in the associate's direction. I was informed I am unable to see that purse. Is there a why? After giving the associate a quick glance, the man back at Viola, his grin remained unchanged, but a half note was dropped in his voice, as if attempting to assume command without showing hostile. It's an expensive item. Frequently we reserve specific items for our existing customers. At the door. Do you check your net worth? She asked directly. He blinked. Naturally not at all. Then you should open the case, in my opinion. He remained still. Viola touched her purse carefully and without hurrying and retrieved her business card. It was matte black, only 3, no logo, silver embossed words. Hastings, Viola Possessions. She put it on the counter. Without any fanfare. The manager gazed, as though it were radioactive. In Tuscan's, his face changed, calculation, fear, respect simultaneously. He cleared his throat. She said, Miss Hastings, yes, with her speak quietly. Hastings, that. Now the room's entire energy altered. Pale. Companion retreated. The security guard tensed up. 2 customers close to the screen ceased acting as though Viola did not gloat but browsed, shouldn't grin. She just took a step back. Please open the case, he said, enjoy looking at the stitches. When at last the bag was placed in front of her, the leather of the crocodile shone beneath the lights. It was not picked up by Viola. She took off running, testing the seam with one fingertistry. She was aware of the precise number of this design took hours to complete. Her companionship had provided funding for the factory refurbishment. She would examine the ethics of material source for the Spanish supplier. She was more acquainted with this brand's DNA than anybody in that shop. However, none of them had inquired since they believed they already knew the solution. Do you want to, the manager asked, want to try it on your arm? Offered, sounding eager now. No, flatly, Viola said, it's not my style, no more. The words were more profound than a reader in the credit card. She pushed the bag. Slowly moved forward and turned to go. However, when she got closer to the door, something stopped her. It was more than simply shame. Individual, it was a systematic issue, and strolling away in silence while feeling content wouldn't teach them anything. Not the salesperson, not the guard on duty, nor the customers observing from the nooks and crannies. Thus, at the exit, she stopped, turned around, and uttered loudly enough to be heard anywhere in the store to listen. When you're rule sappier, to be critical and your smiles are selective. It's simply not a luxury. Fix that costly bias. And with that, as she entered the light, her shadow extending behind her in the shape of a nobody was able to forge the signature. The fact that nobody in that store understood, however, did the incidents already being broadcast live. A girl in her teens, Viola, had been identified outdoors by the glass, took her phone out, and recorded the whole conversation. It struck the internet. In less than an hour, then, a luxury store humiliates a black woman. Discovers her identity. 2 million people viewed the video by midnight. Comment sections were ablaze with fury. It was reposted by influencers with hashtags #power and #blackluxury #rethinkelegance. #silence. Reporters referred to it as a masterclass in dignity in the face of criticism. Returning to corporate executives ran to headquarters. Statements were written. Emails were sent. Sorry. It was practiced. However, Viola was at home, seated on drinking jasmine tea on her terrace. Her when asked if she wished to release the assistenta declaration in public. She gave a headshake. This time, let the silence do the talking. Because when people think you're lisse and you maintain your composure, clarity, and you become steadfast and unforgettable. And that was always the case with Viola Hastings' strategy. When Viola came back to her that night in the Zurich hotel suite, the video was widely shared in 3 different languages. Her name used to be subtly commanding within business circles. Now reverberated via tweets, news chyrons, and reels. However, the fame was not important. That was the message. The soft roar of a woman who hasn't yet raised her voice made everyone pay attention. All over the city, inside the opulent company's headquarters, at the parent company of dwellings, there were meetings in progress. The head of Maison Dural, the company responsible for Thestor, walking in front of a large oak table with business leaders, attorneys, as well as branding experts. "We are unable to, I can't afford a scandal," he growled. "Not this kind in particular." "She is as significant shareholder and board member, and nobody in the store recognized her," the legal advisor was. Perspiring, cleared his throat and ran it down. His forehead. To be honest, she didn't make her presence known, since she didn't have to. She broke the PR director. "Are you aware of the top? What is the most popular search keyword at the moment?" "Black a woman who refused herself a fancy bag brand." This goes beyond harm to one's reputation. This is a systematic issue. The following day, a letter that surfaced online, authored by the legal team for Viola, writing to Maison Dural's investors and released by Sign. It was expressive, factual, and absolutely devastating. It detailed not only her personal experience, but mentioned 6 earlier complaints that were anonymously filed by colored women, who had been featured in profiles or refused service at the businesses. Worldwide shops, the letter concluded with a direct request. "In my capacity as an investor and as the brand steward, I'm requesting quick changes to training, accountability protocols, as well as executive devastation of frontline bias." The internet went wild once more. A review of luxury YouTubers created videos of reactions. Discussion panels were conducted by shows. Major fall fashion publications gave way to gathering attention for headlines such as Viola Hastings, "When Grace and Grit Call It in the Reckoning" of luxury. Celebrities started offering supportive comments. First softly, then loudly. Serena. The video was published by Williams. Ava DeVeret tweeted, "This explains why involvement in power is important." Viola did not postpone. Rectified. Within 48 hours of the incident, Maison Dural's board convened. Viola unexpectedly flew into Paris. Entering the room with the wood paneling. She was wearing the same cream cashmere coat. At the store, where she sat at calm and unreadable. The polished table, his throat was cleared by the chairman. "Miss, before we start, Hastings, we would like to." She held up a hand. "Don't apologize to me, let's concentrate on finding a solution." Then she described her action. "A total makeover of specialized training courses, required education against bias for all frontline employees, incorporating cultural equity and performance indicators, as well as quarterly third-party accountability audits organizations." There was silence in the room. One board member, French and older, scowled. "You are implying that we acknowledge our mistakes in public?" Viola didn't flinch. One proposed that we must either lead or lag behind the market. Reward sincerity rather than silence at this time. "But this could affect stock," he pressed. Costs. Viola gave a little smile. "Not if we control the story. Not if we take error into a master class. Additionally, if you're worried about the numbers, see for yourself what occurs when Gen Z discovers out your classic style doesn't incorporate them." After 2 weeks, the Zurich boutique reopened following a private review time. The employees had altered. The signs were modernized, but above all, the identical purse that had what had not been for her was now on show. Under a case that has a plaque on it, the Hastings edition was ordered in recognition of heritage, bravery, and equity. The incident was not mentioned on the plaque, didn't have to. Travelers snapped selfies. In addition to it, fashion bloggers discussed it, as well as the salesperson who used to smile with. Discretion was no longer used. She was replaced by a new associate, under the new approach of training. The tone, it wasn't performative, and it had changed. It was irreversible. Social. Media-wise, the companies boosted their reputation, not because they concealed it, but because they had to deal with. Viola gave no indication. She didn't write an opinion piece. Once more, her quiet said everything, however, the last twist. In the same week, Thea new board chair was announced by the corporation. The Frenchman had resigned. His name was Viola Hastings. Successor. Not for praise or retaliation, but when the system requires you to demonstrate belong. Occasionally, the best response is tune the structure. For the majority of individuals and for Viola, an insult is only a moment. It was a mirror. Hastings, and she designed to withstand the full sector, 3 days following their dismissal in that store. With the clipped icy line, Viola said, "That one's not for you." The Zurich Hotel's private lounge, reading the company's quarterly report, the internal one, not the public one, due to the fact that it is the biggest strategic equity and a quiet investor relationships, she had complete access to contact details. For the executive board, the calendar of the CEO, and yes, a silent clause consoled in its bylaws, providing her with authority to call for an urgent vote on brand direction and executive behavior. However, she didn't act out of rage. Out of clarity. She hadn't only been insulted by the boutique, luxury had violated its own pledge. Free from bias. Exclusiveness without exclusion. She composed one email, courteous, clear, and distinct, because of an unsatisfactory customer experience that could impact global brand equity repute. I asked for a private meeting. Evaluation of frontline service conformity to brand values. Please verify attendance within a day. 10 minutes later, the CEO personally dialed her private number. His tone was panting. "Miss Hastings, we sincerely regret." She interrupted calmly but incisively. "Let's talk to your board about it." He felt quiet. She didn't say anything. The meeting was conducted over video call 48. After a few hours, 5 top executives on screen in stylish outfits, each one of them white. Trying not to fidget, they were tight-jawed. As Viola, without makeup and wearing a silk blouse, looked down on them from her house in Manhattan, they asked her what had transpired in the office. Instead of raising her voice, she just stared the security footage from the shop, which she had acquired through her lawful majority shareholders' right. It demonstrated her coming in, waiting, and being disregarded, then indicating the bag, followed by that smug. She delayed the sentence after grinning. Frame there, and she said, "Gentlemen, this bag has been promoted as a representation of ambition, style, and strength. However, your employees have been trained to determine who has the opportunity to strive and who doesn't. One and management attempted to place the responsibility on a lone employee. Another individual brought up cultural misdurdance. After allowing them to speak, Viola demonstrated them the figures, based on internal audits that she covertly ordered. Over 62% of consumer grievances throughout their flagship establishments engaged in covert racial bias being observed, challenged, or denied access. And this is what's even awful. She tapped the screen. You've hidden the information. You were aware of that. Was there such a long pause during the call? Could hear the brand disintegrating underneath them. She bent over. Your apology is unnecessary. What I need is a course correction in a visible and public manner. The board gave its approval without any arguments. Her terms, her requests within the hour, they included training for the entire brand. Revision of unconscious bias and all-inclusive luxury, a formal apology from the brand, not to her, but to each and every client who was ever turned away for failing to appear the part, and a fresh product. That was introduced with a new name, the Nada marketing gimmick, the Hastings Edition Declaration. The bag that was denied her name would now be displayed, market, all over the world, with some of each donation to entrepreneurship from the Saley initiatives for young people from marginalized backgrounds, women in business and fashion, as well as that Viola did not fire the salesperson. Asked the store to relocate her to a mentorship-based lower volume store, not because of a diversity officer. Grace was due to her, but because Samiani had to explain to her what the brand offered. Failed to. Viola wasn't the twist. Demonstrated to them. She changed insulting instant into emotion offer form. She accomplished this without yelling, banging doors, or suing. She just remained in a space they never believed she could go in and change the arrangement, the furnishings. After that, there's a certain quiet. Shame. It doesn't make noise. It stays in your throat while you scream, comes after you as you go. And for so numerous females who resemble Viola Hastings, that quiet has reverberated through classrooms, shops, boardrooms, and crosswalks for many generations. However, what occurs if quiet Villa never breaks you, but it sharpens you? She told her narrative to elicit pity, didn't shed a tear during a talk program. Used social media to promote the shop. What Shu was more potent than indignation. Constructed a mirror, then she created the whole look into it, fancy world. Because in actuality, this tale isn't solely concerning one Zurich boutique or one bag. It's regarding a system, well-groomed, courteous, and practiced that continues to presume recherches a certain appearance and gait. Method, and comes from a certain skin type. Viola, however, never requested permission to enter. The room was hers. They simply hadn't observed, and in a world where a lot of people still believe she demonstrated the color of prestige. Power moves mountains even when it talks gently. Now, as soon as you enter any of the main locations for the brand, you'll see a wall-mounted photograph, a subdued portrait of the bag from the Hastings edition under soft light. Just a plaque with no model or name stating, "To those who were informed, this bag is now out. Not for you." Sells each additional model in the gathering. Additionally, the young ladies backed by its earnings, they're not simply purchasing bags, they're creating them, starting businesses, and owning studios. Therefore, the next time someone informs you that remember Viola, you don't belong. Note as a result of her anger, but because Shu is prepared with invoices, with plan, with self-respect, that was unnecessary a spotlight to shine in. She entered Aspace where she vanished and turned into not to be forgotten.